Welcome. You are at the CCC.
Where there are no outside issues. My name's Anthony. I am an addict and an alcoholic, another bozo on the bus, and I care about you.
Yes, and I'm LouiLou. My pronouns are he and him. I am in recovery for crystal meth and alcohol, and I am always in search of balance. Yes, and each week we strive to create a brave space where we can engage in topics around recovery.
And our intention is to hold and inspire better spaces for more people in recovery by tackling issues sometimes used to separate us.
But before we do that, please like, share, ding that bell, and rate us. Rate us as often as you can.
Or rate us when you think we're doing a really good job.
Okay, there's a point of contention.
Yeah, there is a point of contention if you've been following us. And now the disclaimer. The topics and opinions expressed on At the CCC are ours alone. We do not represent anyone but ourselves. It was so good. There was like the last piece. I mean, basically, don't listen to us.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't go out and think like I'm going to make life decisions based on what they said. Yeah. We're just here to entertain you.
Exactly. Have a kiki.
And that should cover the legal portion.
I was blown away because I'm all, this hooker is off script. I'm like, yes.
I know. And then I was practicing before. I'm going to be, next week I'll have it.
Okay.
Next week I'll have it. But I forgot what I was going to say. But I am really excited to be back. It's so good to see you.
I know it's good to see you, even though I see you all the time. It's like we see each other.
I guess maybe to like rephrase that. It's so good to see you
in this capacity,
in this in this context.
Yes, exactly. Because when we're not like on camera, like live,
we dislike
our conversations are just very they're very superficial.
That's not true.
I know exactly.
That's not true. And I just want to apologize to people listening. I'm gonna do that. It's okay.
Are you apologizing?
Well, because I know it makes like a loud noise when you're.
Like if they are blasting the podcast like they listen to music, right on. Yes, this is my jam.
I love Lewis's voice.
Oh yeah. Hi, how's it going?
You didn't have to do that.
I didn't have to do what?
You didn't have to do all of that.
Okay, I didn't, but I did. So it's over.
So
how are you doing?
I'm doing really, really good.
I always have to make sure that I ask how he's doing because it can be a point of like.
I think what I heard you just say is like you have to practice not being selfish. I think that's what I just heard you. I think that's what I just heard you say.
Wow. Okay. You know what? I guess if that's what you heard, then that's what you heard.
It is.
I'm powerless over.
What's that thing you say? I believe that you believe.
I don't say that. I got that from somebody else. I believe.
And I've heard it in other places.
I heard it in the rooms. It's like all you have to do if you believe that somebody else believes, that's enough. What I normally say is like. If that sounded sincere, then I did my job.
But I want to answer your questions. I am doing really good. All the things that I was like kind of trudging through last year, getting my proposal done, putting together my applications, all of that stuff is done. I've started interviewing. I have a few more interviews coming down the pike, and then I will hear back in February what I am doing next year.
Wow.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, things are really, really good. And of course, like close to that too, is like, I feel like my relationships are all very healthy. And by that, I mean like friends, family.
No, absolutely. I can echo that. Like if you were asking me how I'm doing, I can echo
I was going to get there.
Relationships.
I was going to get there.
All good. I mean, this is an important year because
I can't believe you did that.
This is an important year because I had been talking about like a change that is needed as far as employment. And so I'm kicking it into gear. And I just recently was elected by our group, the president of the advisory board for Western Rounds.
Congratulations.
Yeah. It's like, and like,
oh, did you hear that?
I know. It's interesting because it wasn't on my radar because I was secretary for the board for a while. And it wasn't on my radar, but then once it was, I realized, oh, this is because it's my last year on the board. It's like I get to figure out how I really want to kind of leave my mark.
Is the term only 1 year?
Well, the term will be 1 year because that's the end of my time.
Okay.
Yeah, I think. Okay. Yeah, so it's all good. But no, it's good. I believe that
I believe
when you're passionate about something, because I love living sober and I love my community there. It's like when I do drag, I always say it's like if I don't love the people that I'm doing it for, then it will show in how I show up.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I felt that I was with you, and then and then I had an idea, and then what came out of my mouth was yeah. But I feel that I think when you are excited or love something, that shows up. Like I think it shows up with music. I think it shows up with art. I think it shows up in relationships. Yeah, I think
absolutely.
absolutely. Okay, so shall we pivot to today's topic?
Pivot.
Yeah.
That's nice. That's instead of transition.
Yeah, instead of
that was for
transition.
you, Bonnie Violet. We're
That was-
pivoting.
We're pivoting.
You know how every starship captain has their own thing saying, make it so. Anthony's thing now is pivot.
Pivot. Or the other
Doesn't
thing,
that look really pretty. Something
it does look really
about it.
Well, it's the spacing. So for folks at home who are listening, one of our producers, Steven, just put something on our screen. This is where we read messages.
And he's back.
He
took a little break.
That's not what I was going to say. There we go. Oh my God. And we have sound effects. But he has this really pretty like typeface and spacing. So he's really showing up today.
I am so impressed.
I am really impressed. So today's topic is we're doing part 3 of healing our relationships to our bodies, making amends to our bodies, spiritual. Wait a minute. Okay, so you had me at the beginning at the first half. What the hell is this, Steven? You put that back up.
Yeah, put it back up.
We're gonna edit your shit before you put healing our relationships to our bodies, making amends to our bodies, spiritual. What were
healing? So it was healing. Making amends to our body.
Put it back up. Hold on, I'm not done. Put it back up.
It's just very busy. It's a verbose.
So it looks very nice, but when you look closely, it's falling apart.
Yeah, in the end, if you need to do it again, it's like it's healing, making amends to our bodies. Spiritual would be sufficient, and then we can fill it in.
I'm just fucking with you.
No, it's just like when you're speaking to a group or whatever, you don't want to write down actually everything you say because.
Louis, I got it. I got it. I was just fucking with something.
No, I think it's wonderful, but it's amazing that you start the year off because before the cameras came on, this one was coming for me too. It's like I'm all thinking, and then you wonder why when we're on air, I'm coming for him because it is an answer to
don't gaslight these people.
I am not gaslighting.
Don't gaslight.
What I'm doing is I'm telling my truth.
What you're doing is telling lies. That's what you're doing.
Okay, it's like I'm all. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to start recording. Recording everything before, just how cops have a body cam.
We should have the podcast version of body cams we just walk around with.
Exactly. So you see, I told you.
Yeah. So today we're talking about making amends to our bodies. And what a great time to have that conversation because a lot of people at the beginning of the year, they'll have New Year's resolutions that are body specific, and then they'll find themselves at the end of the year feeling like they've fallen short of those resolutions.
Absolutely.
And so, we've been talking about this for a couple of weeks now, but before we jump into that, I want to talk a little bit about what we did during our time off, some of our planning, some of the topics that we have coming down.
Absolutely.
The pike, I've now used that expression twice.
Yeah, that's fine. It's good.
So yeah, we're very excited. So for the rest of this month, we are going to have, well, not just this month, but for the next few months, we have guests lined up, all people that we're very excited about. First thing. Second thing is this month, we're going to have an in-depth dive to the mind-body connection. So, we've talked about making amends to our bodies, and then we're going to start the conversation off with Anka. Oh, excuse me. Did y'all hear me burp? I'm really sorry if you did.
We didn't.
So
we wouldn't have known about it if you hadn't said anything.
Why? I'm an honest person.
Okay.
And I know that's hard for you to relate
to. I feel like there's someone under the table stabbing me right now. Jab, jab, jab.
Chlamydia.
Wow. Okay. So he's been doing this a real long time. You've gotten really good. It's like we're getting ready to change spaces. I'm going to be the one who's like completely in shock every time you open your mouth.
So we have Anka. So I'm very excited about having Anka on. She did this one episode coverage of the history of the mind-body connection as it's related to like mental health, and it is simply incredible. And so I really wanted her to come on to have that conversation. We have a good friend of ours named Bernadette. She's going to be on to talk about body positivity, and then we have a bunch of other people. So that's for the rest of the month of January. We have some other people. Then we're going to have February is going to be dedicated to drag,
and recovery.
drag and recovery, drag
Yes.
and spirituality, and we'll have our very own Bonnie Violet on for those conversations.
Absolutely.
We would be remiss not to have her on. So drag and recovery will have people who are at the very early stages of their careers, and then we'll have people who are very accomplished and have very successful careers in drag. So then March, we're going to be talking about, that's not the criminal justice system.
March is going to be mental health and medicine.
Yeah, so mental health and medicine.
And we're going to kick it off with the prescribed medication and work our way down.
Yeah, then we're going to talk about, that's right, prescribed medications, and we're going to have people on who've done ketamine treatment, folks who have experience with ayahuasca,
also
and
weed maintenance.
And then weed maintenance. So for people, that's March. And then the very last month, which I'm so excited. I'm excited about all the months, but this last month, just given some of the shares that I've heard, we're going to be talking about the experiences with the criminal justice system in recovery. So what does it look like to make, amends to the legal system? And what does it look like to be on the other side of that? So a wonderful lineup, amazing people that we're going to have on.
And of course, we're always going to be looking forward to your input and your comments.
Yeah. And the other thing is if you're listening to this and any of those things, you can relate to those things, or you have someone in mind, contact us. We're always willing to have a conversation offline, not necessarily on air, with to hear what people's ideas are.
But you can join us in the studio, because
that's right. We're going to be doing that too. So we're opening up the studio space to have a live audience. So if you're interested in doing that, and you can also participate when we have our live audience here. So let's jump into the topic. We've done a lot of introduction now. So let's go back to this idea of New Year's resolutions and the body, and kind of debriefing on like what we've already talked about. So where we landed, I think what we wanted to do with today is like the spiritual relationship to our bodies.
Absolutely, because it seems like it's like the natural progression. Like when you do the work building up, getting that mind right or whatever, then you can, the advanced stuff is the spirit and getting yourself right, or getting to that place of enlightenment.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, so when you think about like a spiritual relationship with your body, I guess, how do you experience that? Because when I think about spirituality for me, okay, have you ever done like float meditation or floating meditation, where they put you into a capsule? It's like
I can already tell
no.
First off, I'm a little claustrophobic.
Yeah,
I got some anxiety.
Okay.
No, you're not putting me in a capsule.
So I
you can put a capsule and put it in me,
but you're not putting me in a capsule.
Yeah. Exactly.
So they put you in this capsule, and it's called stimulation deprivation therapy. And the idea, okay, so it's very cool. So they put you in a capsule, and inside of this capsule is water, and it has like pounds and pounds of salt. So it's impossible to, well, not impossible to sink, but you can't sink because there's just so much salt in the water. And then the water is set to body temperature. And so you're lying down, and it's completely dark. So what eventually happens, it's so amazing. If you're lying there, there's no light. The water is at body temperature. So eventually what happens is that you lose sense of your body, because the body is in that water. So your entire body feels like it disappears. And then what ends up happening is, at least in my experience, is that it feels like your consciousness. It's some next level. It's like the most high I think you can get as a sober person, because it's a very intense form of meditation. And I'm bringing that up because it was like the first time as a sober person that I was like meditating, and I kind of went into this, like, the only thing I can think of is like, how you're in your body and it's like, oh, I have skin and my skin contains me, right? It's the one time, or it's the only time that I've had this experience where like all of that kind of leaves you, and you no longer feel like you're trapped in your body.
Are you tripping out? You're tripping out because all the salt got into your system.
Are you hallucinating because you have been poisoned by
you
salt?
Got salt poison. It's like this is why I was floating.
That's not a bad. Yeah. So can you say more about that? That's amazing.
when I get to a place where I realize, like, okay, so something as simple as I don't need to go out tonight. I need to go to sleep. My body, I don't need to push it. Or like New Year's Eve, I was telling you how I walked towards the door and walked out and went home.
Mhm.
Or I've got a headache. Maybe I need to drink some more water. Or why am I so irritable? What's going on? And maybe I need to take a moment. Or like one of the conversations we're going to be having is with halt. It's like,
Oh yeah.
what's going on with my body that I'm feeling discomfort? Yeah, it's a little bit of that.
I love that. And what you're okay, so we have this like ongoing joke behind the scenes, and maybe less so on behind the scenes, is that everything always comes back to sex and God.
Oh,
Or
absolutely.
but I was just thinking about that.
Boom, chicka,
And
wow, wow.
God, I hate that. But like,
Lord.
no, but what I mean is like, I think the way I translate that is so this has been my experience. This is an aside. My experience has been that and this is across the board, like across religions, this is across like anyone who's in the pursuit of excellence, be it with like an art form or like academic, whatever, anyone who is pursuing something, God could and would if he were sought. So people who are seeking, what I've experienced or what I've noticed is that they all start to kind of sound the same.
Oh, absolutely.
They talk about gratitude, they talk about forgiveness and compassion. And I don't know where I was going with that.
No, but it's deep.
But we
it's
were
really deep. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I don't mean to be deep, but what I'm thinking of, listening
And
to
that's
the body.
that's when it's beautiful. When you're trying to be deep,
Yeah.
then you just sound like, seriously, you're
Yeah.
trying too hard, boo.
Yeah. You're trying too hard, boo. That needs to be on a shirt. You're trying too hard, boo. But so okay, God, and okay, so talking about the relationship to the body. So I love what you were saying, because it makes me like I'm reminded of what it has felt like to be loving and caring toward my body, when like for the longest time. And you know what? Let me be real for a second. I still struggle with this because like sometimes like I'll look at the mirror and I'll criticize my body. I'll be like, and like, what was that comment?
No, what? I'm gonna cut you off right now. Oh, wow. Oh,
Brandon says, doing cold plunges followed immediately by hot spring soaks has a similar effect on my body. It requires me to dive deep into the meditation to be able to stay in each pool and relax. That's so fucking cool.
Exactly.
Brandon, I didn't know you did that, but I'm not surprised to hear that you did, because you'd be doing some crazy shit.
I know exactly. I just wanted to make a point. The reason why it seems like I cut Anthony off, because he talks a lot. I usually just try to get in where I can fit in. How about that? I love it. But I love hearing your voice. So it's like,
get out of here! Don't smack me and then
it's very soothing. It's like, or Judge Judy says, "Don't piss on my leg and tell me it's raining."
Brandon, thank you for sharing that comment.
I know.
So the cold, I've never done either one of those, but I've tried to do the cold plunge, except I've tried to do it in the shower. Like I've tried to like just turn the water like super cold and stay in there. And he's right. Like in order, I haven't been able to do it for more than 30 seconds. I've counted, because you really have to, like, everything inside of your body is like, make it stop, make it stop, make it stop, So you've never done that?
No, God, no. It's like, it's only when like I get in and I turn the shower the dial the wrong way, and I'm all, woo, or when it's super hot, I leave my body for a
That
moment.
reminds me of like what it was like to live in the projects, where like we had like the control over the water was so
you turn on the TV and the water temperature changes. It's like, whoa, it's like
well, you just turn it a little bit and it's like scalding hot.
Oh God, I know. Oh
yeah, that's so funny. Oh God, can you hear the police sirens?
I don't think they can hear it.
I think they can, because
because every time
I'm letting them know that I can hear it.
Yeah.
So back to
this is city living. Yeah.
City living. So back to the body. So that's what I was going to say. So about sex is that it reminds me of how I used to have sex versus like what my sex life is like now. So I can remember, we've talked about intimacy versus intensity before. Mm-hmm. And I can just remember using sex as this way of disassociating, where it really wasn't about the other person. It wasn't about connecting, but it was about like just checking the fuck out. Where like sex for me now is not like that at all. Like I feel I'm like very present and very vulnerable, and it's not just about what feels good for me. And like that's and which, by the way, like I think that is like this next level thing that I didn't know that I wanted or I needed, but to be so present where like it's not about me, but it's about like how do I take care of this person that I love.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I feel like, oh, we have a comment.
Oh, let's see it.
Hey, Bill. Oh,
Dirty Santa.
Dirty Santa.
I don't understand.
we're gonna have to look up.
Wait, what does that mean?
We're gonna have
Billy,
to look
what
up
the fuck?
in the Urban Dictionary.
Yeah, Dirty Santa. Do you know what Dirty Santa is? We have someone's gonna look it up. Or Billy could just hitting us with the Dirty Santa. Oh, wait, I think maybe because I borrowed. Oh, I know what. Oh, I know what it means. So Billy. So I told Billy that I was going. My partner and I, we were going to do a gift exchange, and I wanted to dress up as Santa. I wanted to like be dressed up festive, and I think that's what he's talking about. And then so I dressed up as Santa, and so my partner showed up at my place, and I was dressed as Santa. And I think the implication here is that like we role played as me as Santa, but we didn't. I literally was in the costume for maybe 2 minutes, and then like I took it off because it was just too much.
Okay. I love it, Dirty Santa.
Dirty Santa.
You know that really expands, like, whatever. It's all good.
But back to the body and sex and being connected and spirituality. And so I want to go back to what you were saying again, because I feel like there's a lot there. And specifically, it's this idea that we can actually be in relationship with our body, and that relationship can be more than critical.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Oh, you know what? I'm always talking about like changing language. Yeah. About change, like, because it's like with the steps or anything that we do, and you talk about this a lot. Like, this is good information. Just saying things as
data.
Information. It's data. It's an opportunity, and acknowledging that those times when I do look in the mirror, like I always think about it, like I think of it like an EKG machine.
Yeah.
Most of the time it's flatline, and in this case, flatline is good. Flatline is me like being reasonable with myself, but every now and then there's a blip.
That's real.
When I look in the mirror and I'm like, oh God, it's like, I can't believe this. But there are times when I look in the mirror, beep, you look amazing. I've never seen you look this good or whatever. And all of those things are okay. I really feel like because I'm continuing to do the work or whatever, if I just see it for what it is, I get an opportunity to step outside of it and say, okay, yeah, there's some stuff I still get to work on. And
thank you so much for saying that. So I've been thinking, I maybe we've talked about this before, but so one of the things that I had to let go of last year, and I think I'm living it now, like day 3 of 2024.
But yeah,
all this year. So what I've had to let go of, and I know I've shared this before, where like one of the things I love when I go to meetings is hearing people with like 20 plus years, or they're in their teens. Love hearing those people talk about struggles that they have, because there is this delusion that I've had for a really long time that if I'm working a good program, I'm not going to be uncomfortable, and I'm going to make the right decisions, or I'm going to have a different kind of relationship with my body. Right. Yeah. And what I heard from what you said is like, it's not linear. You know what I mean? Like some days are good, some days are bad. And that's why we say in the big book, we're granted a reprieve contingent upon the maintenance of our spiritual program.
Absolutely.
Right. And so, yeah, it's not linear, and occasionally we do have those dips.
And also we do this work. Whatever work you do the work so that you're ready for those days when you don't have it.
Oh, can I say one more thing?
Yeah, say it.
Okay.
Speak.
I don't know why I felt the need to shimmy there.
He said he blamed it on me. I'd say
the shimmy. Like every time around you, I want to shimmy.
I love it. He's like
Steven's moving art.
Steven's like perfection. He's like making sure we.
I want to share a secret with people at home. When you watch and I don't have my glasses on, I have to darken my eyebrows, because if I don't darken my eyebrows, it looks like my forehead starts all the way down in the middle of my nose and goes all the way. So that's the secret, is that I have to darken my eyebrows. Otherwise, I'm just like one.
It's not a secret anymore. Folks are going to be like,
so it's so
when
funny.
You don't have your glasses. Folks
Hold
be
on.
Like,
So Benji was he was at my house, and he like opened up. Benji's my partner. So Benji opened up my medicine cabinet.
I love it. We've come a long way.
He goes, babe, why do you have eyeliner in here? And I was And I was like,
and
let me
fake lashes
explain.
and lipstick. It's for those
Oh, I'm
nights
sorry.
when you dirty
I'm like,
Santa,
yeah.
a dirty Mrs. Claus. See, he doesn't role play as dirty Santa. He role plays as Mrs. Claus. I'm like, yes.
Oh God. And I was like, babe, hear me out. I was like, sometimes I won't wear my glasses on the podcast when we're filming it. And if I don't darken my eyebrows, I look like a giant forehead. Where were we?
And he had to sit with that for a bit. It's like, I'm gonna come back.
You
later.
know what? He's so wonderful. He's like, oh, babe, that's so cool. I get it. Oh, it's like you're an Instagram. I was like, oh, you're an
Instagram thought.
Yeah, he's like, basically, he was like, oh, it's like the Instagram thought.
You know what? You know what's happening right now? This is spiritual. Absolutely believe. I absolutely believe. Like when people have issues with this idea of spirituality and whatever, there is nothing that I have to do to be a spiritual being. I'm a spiritual being.
Yeah.
I believe that I'm created in my creator's image, and my creator is not some sky daddy like they put. My creator is energy, is everything, it's life or whatever. And so us laughing, us doing what we're doing or whatever.
Yeah.
This is us like paying attention to what we need to pay attention to. It's us connecting to what makes us gel. Like it's our chemistry. It's all that stuff. We're tapping into it.
Yes. Oh, we have a comment. Billy says, this body stuff is the graduate program for sobriety.
Absolutely.
That's not what Billy sounds like, but I'm going to make him sound like that. All right, let's start.
It's like, I found a picture of myself.
He does not have a Southern accent. Billy says, this body stuff is a graduate program for sobriety. I found a picture of myself from, oh, that's where you got that one. I found a picture of myself from 8th grade where I have the same body I do today. Somehow, though, I still think happiness is a much skinnier version of me. Oh, I'm sorry for laughing. If I knew this was the way this comment was going to end, I probably would have. Oh, I love you too.
We love you. We absolutely.
You know what, Billy? I thank you for your vulnerability.
Absolutely.
Brene Brown would be proud.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for your vulnerability, and I absolutely appreciate that. Can you put it back up, Stephen, please? I just want to see the last part of that. Somehow, I still think happiness is a much skinnier version of me. What this reminds me of is a conversation I've actually had with my therapist before. This idea that like happiness. Actually, it wasn't my therapist. It was a good friend. This idea that like happiness was a destination, or that it was, you know, it's like it's somewhere else other than the moment that I'm in right now, right?
Yeah.
And being reminded constantly like that the only moment I have is the moment that I'm in. It's right now. This is it. It's not tomorrow. Life is literally what is happening right now, right this very second.
That's spiritual. Getting to a place
like
with that where I'm like, oh my God, I'm trying to get here, and I'm forgetting about all the good things that's happening and having these experiences. And that's how I that's advanced work, knowing that, you know, it's somebody said it beautifully. You know, on your tombstone. Okay, yeah. On your tombstone. People are not going to be so concerned with the beginning and the end. It's that little
the line between.
In between. What did you do in between? That's a story. That's your story.
Yeah, and no one's going to be like, "Oh, girl, she was skinny."
Not at all.
You know what I mean? No one's going to be like, "Oh, girl, did you see how skinny Billy was?" You know what I mean? But the stories people will tell about Billy is like, Billy was so kind.
Yeah.
And Billy like really cared about people who were sick and suffering.
And Billy taught me how to have compassion for folks in a way that I hadn't had. I thought, because I thought that I was a motherfucker for recovery. I was working here, and Billy was the one who was showing people that compassion that they needed to get. Like I had the wrong idea and I'm talking about when I worked here at the club, because I was pretty much an enforcer.
I believe that, but I want to go back to this idea that like the skinnier, like that happiness is a skinnier version of I'll talk about myself. And so 2 ideas. The first idea is years ago, I had a very similar conversation with my friend, and she said, you know, Anthony, in all the same ways that, well, she actually sent me a quote. It doesn't matter. The point is that in this interaction, she said, you know, happiness is cultivated in the same way that we cultivate depression or sadness or discontent, right? Like, and my sponsor says something very similar. My sponsor always says, you know, Anthony, are you watering the flowers or are you watering the weeds? Right. And when we talk about the work I think the work is in what am I doing to adjust my perception? And when I talk about that, like life is happening in the moment that I'm in, right? Like it's what am I doing in that very moment? Like in this moment, am I cultivating the part of myself that believes that a better life for me is a skinnier version of me? Because if I'm already doing that, like I've already removed myself from the moment that I'm in. And if I'm removing myself from the moment I'm no longer of service to anyone.
Absolutely.
And I'm talking about myself, Billy, not you.
That was a spiritual awakening for me when I realized that, because of the work that I'm doing and I'm doing consistently and I'm staying sober, it was a combination of everything. My perception of what it meant to be unhappy, to go through stuff. And I don't want to discount when people are dealing with chemical depression or things of that nature.
Right.
But there are times when I would have days that I was a little lower. Like I shared this a while back. I showed up at a meeting after work. I just had this mood and I wasn't able to kick it. I was annoyed. And, I was in a space where normally I would be able to it would lift, but it wasn't going anywhere because I think I was kind of holding on to it. I was in it and I was loving it and whatever. And I'm not letting go of it. But what I did was I got up and I decided to leave. And I went home and I rested. But I don't know. I don't know the connection. But
it's there. I heard it, and
Yeah.
people heard it. What I was thinking of is, and going back to this idea that like the moment that we have is the moment that we're in. It's like, how am I in this moment? Like, how am I? Like, since we're talking about the body, it's like, how am I treating my body right now? I had this experience a few years ago where I was out somewhere and I saw someone that I thought was very attractive and they were heavier than I was. And I thought to myself, Anthony, that's so interesting that you're able to look at this person's body and see them as beautiful. And yet you're not able to do that for yourself. Right. And I use this person's weight because it was, so much of like the conversations around body and stuff like that in advertisement have to do with
Absolutely.
weight. So I don't want to give the impression that that's like that I'm putting stock in that. But the takeaway here is that I was looking at someone else and I was able to look at them beautifully. And yet I was not able to think to myself, oh, other people will also find me beautiful. But more than that, it's like that I could also find myself beautiful regardless of like the body I'm in.
Absolutely.
And I think there's a comment. Let's take this comment. Billy writes, correct. My goal is to work on loving all versions of me, both sides of my closet. Skinny. Is that both sides of my closet, skinny and husky?
Exactly. I thought you were just doing that dramatic pause, but yeah.
Thank you, Billy. Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
And to be sure, Billy, I was referring to myself, not you. I was just relating. I'm not giving any unsolicited advice. And that's not just for Billy. That's for anyone who sends a comment in. Like, we're just reflecting.
It's just a reiteration of what we said earlier with our statement. We're just speaking what comes right off the cuff, and sometimes it's wrong, but not in Anthony's case, as he put earlier. It's like usually it's right.
No, it's so funny. It's so funny that see, like, what does that message mean? That means 10 minutes, right?
Yeah.
So what I'm talking about for people listening is our producers, they throw up hand signals and all the hand signals mean different things. And the thing that he just did was like
he threw up gang signs.
He threw up gang signs.
Bloods.
Don't do that. Don't. Well, I doubt they're listening to our podcast.
And if they are, welcome.
Welcome. Yeah.
Welcome. We love you.
Yeah. There was something else I wrote of following what feels right. One of my favorite experiences from last year is when I was talking to Federico, and Federico was talking about, and I've talked about this before. He was like at the beach, we had that bonfire thing that we do every year. And he goes, yeah, I went and I was super anxious and I realized, I don't have to do things that make me anxious, like be in big crowds of people. And I thought to myself, like, what? Like, you gave yourself permission not to, like, because for me, I thought like I always force myself to do things that make me uncomfortable. And he's like, you know what, dude, like, why? You don't always have to do that. Like, what's the trade-off? And that felt like a God shot. Oh, I had another God shot yesterday. So yesterday I hung out with someone in the rooms that I typically, I guess, he reminds me of that thing. Like, we are like a group of people who would normally not mix.
Go ahead. I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah. And well, no, this is actually much fuller. So he, in a lot of ways, represents. Oh God, I don't think he listens to us, but so he, in a lot of ways, represents stuff that was on my 4th step years ago. And he reminds me a little bit of a friend that I have that has caused me a lot of pain. But when I was hanging out with this person yesterday, he was so different than the friend that I had. And he was just very kind and very like, it was just so nice to connect with him and talk to him and go to this meeting. And like my partner was my partner showed up and like we got to all talk and it was just really nice. And I thought to myself, wow, this is really interesting. This is why we don't stay in our heads and we go out and we like experience life, because I was having this corrective experience by talking to this person. And I realized in that interaction that I had a limited view on an entire group of people based on one experience. And that was like a nice reminder for me, because like as a man of color, I know that those kind of things happen a lot. They're, you know, like I remember when I was younger, if I did something bad, I thought like, oh shit, like now I've become the entire representative of my entire community.
God, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I thought like that's way too much weight, you know, and I didn't realize that here I was doing it to someone else recently.
Well, it's good. It's like, I love that you had that experience.
What was that?
There was nothing in that.
Okay.
There was nothing in that.
See
It's
what
like,
I mean?
I'm very expressive. It's like, yeah, don't read into it. I'm listening. I'm taking it in. I'm learning.
So following what feels, I just sounded like, what's that?
So I was
cartoon
looking at your
character?
following what feels right.
Oh yeah.
And something that I have been able to take with me, even in my active addiction that I hold on to now, is I pay attention to energy. I pay attention to sometimes, you know, not everybody is meant to be in your life.
That's right.
And sometimes the vibe, there's something there. And I usually, the only difference is before I would make this big stage production about, I'm done with you and I'm out of this or whatever. But beyond that, like now what I have to do, I don't have to do anything in particular. I just have to excuse myself. Like I always say, it's like, you know what, I'm going to love you from across the street, because that's how you're showing up. That's how you want to be loved. So I'm going to love you from across the street.
Yeah.
There's no possible way.
That's right.
You know, I don't have it to give, so I'm not giving it.
Yeah. You know, and the other thing is like similar to that is like, if I'm in your company and it hurts me, or like I feel like I have to struggle with you, like, you know, I just don't know that that's the best use of my time.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
On a very kind of simplistic, like if I feel like you just, like you make, there are some people I know you have in life where they give you this impression that they're doing you some sort of a favor spending time with you.
Right.
Yeah, no. Yeah, nice try, hooker.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think part of like what makes that complicated for me sometimes is like, I think, and going back to like circling back to spirituality, is like sometimes I'm in the company of someone. Okay, so I have a couple friends who've been in and out multiple times recently, and there's a part of myself that's like, oh, I love them, and like the spiritual thing here, the spiritual value that I value, that the spiritual kind of axiom or thing that I value here tells me that I should be in relationship with this person and I should be helpful. And then at some point I realized, actually, I'm of no help to you, because you're toxic, not through any fault of your own, you know, like you're struggling with your addiction, but you're toxic. And there's nothing I can say or do that's going to make this situation better. And the best that I can do in that case is take a step back and say, hey, I'm here when you're ready.
Absolutely.
You know, and I think that applies for a lot of things, you know. I think, you know, Benji and I have been talking a lot about
B. Are you ready, B?
Yeah. Like Beyonce.
I'm some queen bee.
Yeah, we've been talking a lot about like, how do you know when you have a client, right? Like, and by that we mean like when you're working in therapy, right? And so we've been talking about like, okay, well, if you have, say, a client who's unmotivated, you don't have a client. Okay. You know what I mean? And it's like,
oh, you mean when you have,
you can think about it with respect to sponsorship or anything.
Absolutely.
It's
when
like,
you got somebody who shows up.
You don't have they're not buying what you're selling.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like I've been thinking about that with respect to sponsorship is like I'm of no use to you if you don't take suggestions, and you're of no use to me if like we don't have a relationship.
Yeah, exactly. I understand.
And I feel like maybe, you know, in both of those cases, I'm robbing you of an opportunity to be with someone that will actually that you can respond to. Maybe I'm just not that person.
No, I got you. It's a tough one. It's a tough one, especially depending on how long the relationship has been, because like,
God,
yeah. And then also it's like, I don't want to dismiss you or I want to be supportive
That's
because
right.
I'm allowing you to have your humanity, but it's like it's that weird place where as much as I want to help you, this is a decision that you've got to make on your own.
That's right.
And when you make that decision, we can revisit our relationship. But yeah.
Sorry, I'm just trying to move my leg and I keep kicking the camera. Okay. All right. So we have 4 minutes left. We have like 3 minutes left.
3 minutes.
Should we
It's
start?
like, let's start.
Let's start.
I'm always supposed to. The Castro Country Club is a safe and sober community center for all people and a refuge for the LGBTQ recovery community. This is also the time when you have to be excused at church.
Yeah. That was really sassy. We provide programs and services that help people change their lives by supporting personal growth.
Yes, and our vision is to reduce the suffering of addiction by connecting people to community, opportunity, and support.
You can find more information, including all the ways to contact us at www.castrocountryclub.org/podcast. I didn't do any of the exercises.
And tune in every Tuesday at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We go live on our Castro Country Club Facebook and YouTube channels.
Find us wherever you listen to podcasts.
Happy New Year.
He said no. So we're not. You're still recording it. We're still live right now.
It's still live. You got to turn off the. How are you doing?
Is this your